What's going on, Jets fans? It's your boy DT back with another Monday episode, this time pre-recorded. Our guy BuffaloJetFan in the building with us, alternate streams, as you guys are probably aware of now. Kev, how we doing today, man? 0-7. Is it 10 games for Aaron Glenn to prove something to the naysayers, or is it 10 games till we can go back to our regularly programmed lives?
Well, the only thing I can say for sure is it's 10 games. There will be 10 games. That's all I got for you, man. I can promise you that. Although, I mean, maybe the Jets get a lightning game. The Jets would get like a suspended game or a tie. Would definitely be a par for the course for this season, though.
Yeah, I was actually thinking at work, I'm like, what could get us less than 10 games? I'm like, could we forfeit a game?
Maybe shave one off.
Like we're almost one there. Like, let's just be 0-16 so we don't have to break the record of 0-17. I don't think it's really going to get that far, but
Oh, right, because since they've gone to 17 games, nobody's been winless. I
nobody's done it.
still somehow think they'll win one.
I think so too, and I get flack every time I say they're going to win one, potentially two. And honestly, I look at the game coming up after the bye, which if you have 12 days of rest and lose to Dylan Gabriel, I'm sorry, that's a problem. And then Miami, who's either probably going to be playing Quinn Ewers or Zach Wilson, and like their coach said today, hoping not to throw, quote, 10 picks. So I feel like you could defensively steal one of those games. Offensively, we really don't have a hope in any of these games. And I think you broke it down in your long form tweet today. If you don't have the head coach and the quarterback, it's going to be very hard to win anything of substantial matter in this league. So I guess we'll start from there. Head coach, quarterback. What are your takeaways regarding how Aaron Glenn handled the situation and how the quarterbacks handled the situation?
Well, I think going to Tyrod at halftime was fine. Now part of me does think, and you can never prove it, and we always overestimate these, we always think, oh, if you go back and do this, we would have won this or that. You never know. But I do think if you go to Tyrod at halftime against Denver and then just give him the first team reps in practice and start him against Carolina, you probably win one of the last two games. Now, does that really matter in the grand scheme of things? No, but that's just my opinion on it. And Tyrod, the sack percentage dropped. I know they both took 3 sacks, but Tyrod and obviously way more dropbacks. So sack percentage cut in half, yards per attempt almost doubles. But Tyrod was still completing less than 50% of his passes and threw 2 picks, and they both scored 3 points. So it just came down to what style of bad offense did you want to watch? And I guess I'd rather watch the one where guys like Mason Taylor and Arian Smith at least get a chance to get targets, which is the one with Tyrod, because the thing that's strange is Fields has been a non-factor with his legs since his long run against Miami. If he's not going to give you 45 yards and a touchdown a game with his legs, I mean, he's not better than Tyrod Taylor. I'm cool with the decision they made, but it doesn't seem like the Jets have a quarterback on their roster that is going to give them the upper hand in many games, and head coach too. Like with Fields and Tyrod, we know what they are at this point. Obviously, Aaron Glenn and Engstrand, they can still get better. But if we were just to be objective, I don't think there's a single game on the Jets schedule where they're going to have both the better quarterback and the better head coach. And most of the games, they're going to be worse at 2 out of 2. And you just don't really need to look any further than that.
Yeah, that's really the unfortunate reality of this whole thing, is when it comes to the two most important positions, the Jets are going to be at a huge deficit going into the game. And I like your whole Rams comparison. If you took McVay and Stafford and kept them there, but took everybody else from the Jets and did the same for the Jets with the Rams players, you keep Fields and Glenn or Taylor and Glenn. The Jets are probably picking in the top 7, and the Rams are still going on a long postseason run. So it's very frustrating when that is the sad reality. When we were discussing Kurt Warner last week, he actually had a really good tweet that explained quarterback aggression and how teams deal with it. Do you win because of aggression? Do you lose because of aggression? Do you win because you're not aggressive and everybody else wins around you, or are you winning because you're not aggressive? And the Jets with Fields, were you losing because you're not aggressive? The Jets were losing because they were not aggressive with Fields. Like, it was just going to lay down and die type of offense. So yeah, you inject Tyrod Taylor in there at halftime, and he does bring you some aggression, and he's throwing the ball down the field. It does result in 2 picks because it feels like he was throwing warm-up passes to Josh Reynolds and Alan Lazard Even three really bad underthrow passes by Tyrod Taylor in that game. And it just felt like if he stepped into those throws, the Jets probably had at least one, if not two touchdowns on the board. So I do appreciate the aggressiveness from the coaching staff with Tyrod in there, but it's almost to a fault, right? Because you're looking at the second half pass run splits of this team. It is egregious, Kev. Dude, first drive of the second half, they run five passes, one run, and they take a sack, and they probably punt, I think. The next drive, 8 passes to 2 runs, and the 2 runs came on the first 2 plays of the drive. 7 passes to 1 run on the third drive. 2 passes, a sack, and then the interception, which was the entire drive. And then the final drive was 3 passes, 1 sack. That is a 25-3 pass run split in the second half. That is absolutely disgusting. I didn't even see who the runs were to, and I don't know if that was a designed handoff to Breece Hall for 3 runs, or if it was Isaiah Davis or actual running back, or if it was a scramble run.
One of
by
them was a
Tyrod Taylor.
scramble, so there was 2 handoffs in the
There you
second
go.
half.
2 actual handoffs, and I'm assuming that they probably both came in that one drive where they had the first 2 plays were runs. I'm sure they just ran Breece and then got to third down and short. But it's just absolutely ridiculous that we see tweets like hashtag free 20 coming from Breece Hall, and it's like it's utilization. You got to use him more. He just came off a game where he wasn't targeted and you lost by 2 points, and your defense and special teams did everything you could do. So they follow it up and just say, "Hold my beer. We're going to do it again." And they make it even worse. And then the one of the runs that they did hand it to him, he got hurt. And you're supposed to be running tempo at that point. You're supposed to just come out in shotgun and pass it. And I understand, I'm simultaneously bitching about passing it too much while also saying they needed to not run it there. But that was the worst situation to ever hand it to Breece Hall for 1 yard. And then he gets hurt. And I believe it was still with Fields in the game. It wasn't even Tyrod. So that's the second quarter. You didn't even get to the egregious pass splits in the second half for that. And Breece Hall had to leave and go to the locker room early. So it's like, when they could have ran it in a 10-point game, they decided to pass it. And it felt like they decided to run it in a 2-minute situation before the half where they need to play with tempo. Like a 1-yard run while the clock is running under a minute and a half is not, conducive to success. And that's two weeks in a row now. Getting to the coaching aspect of it, Aaron Glenn needs to make better decisions at the half. And we go back to the quote, the 4 minutes at the end of each half is the responsibility of the coaches to get those guys in line and get them in, a scoring position, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown. The last 4 minutes of that, they had 2 drives and they didn't go anywhere with them with Justin Fields. And then the last 4 minutes of the game in the second half, they punt the ball with 1:55 left and they never see it again. So it's like, you can't pick and choose the wrong times when to be aggressive and always get it wrong.
Yeah, well, it's fair to you can't say like, oh well, you wanted us to throw it. It's like, dude, there's a middle ground. You can have a normal, offense. Breece Hall definitely seems like he's going to be traded. It almost seems as though whether it's he's just been done with the team for a bit, which kind of seems possible. He is kind of the poster human of the checked out Jet, right? He's kind of that first domino to fall. Although you see Quinnen looking glum on the sideline, you see Jermaine tweeting, something's got to give. So it's kind of a bummer.
You hate to see that from Jermaine too. Like you hate to see Jermaine, the one guy that I feel like 90% of this fan base is saying is untouchable in trade talks and just like egregiously like scoffing at the idea that they'll trade him. And when you see tweets like that, it's like, damn, maybe they might trade him. It's sad to see when JJ is saying stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, anyone who's been here since, even 4 or 5 years of this, or three or more years of this, it kind of wears on you. I know Quinnen much longer than that. But yeah, with Breece, like it seems like this staff never really had a big plan for him. I mean, the first game, yes, but then since then they've been treating him as pretty much an equal partner to either Isaiah Davis and or Braylon Allen. He has the lowest. He's like 50th among NFL running backs in like screen usage. Just doesn't get that at all. He's a running back who did lead the league in receptions by running backs with Zach Wilson at quarterback. And he's not Walter Payton. We get that, but their second best weapon by a significant margin. And even when in a game when when Zach Wilson was out that he wasn't fed. It just seems like that's kind of run its course. And now, of course, now the convenient injuries are going to start popping up. Once you're 0-8 past the bye, believe you me, some hamstrings are going to start hurting. So I don't know, maybe I have to go to the concussion tent, right? So that's going to be part of it. But yeah, I think Brees, like, either if you're trying to win games, which I don't know if they still are, I don't know if we still want them to, but if they're trying to win games, use Brees Hall as a focal point of your offense. And if you're not and you don't want to, then just get your 4th round pick and kind of be done with it at this point,
Yeah, isn't that a sad state? Like I've said that twice already this pod. It's a sad state when you have to question, are they trying to win or are they actually trying to actively win football games? And it feels like looking at third down specifically and how many times Brees Hall comes off the field on third down for Isaiah Davis, it's laughable. You can't say all that stuff in the summer about how you want to use him as a receiver and you'll take him over any safety or any linebacker that, is in the league when he's running the full route tree. And it just doesn't make any sense. And that's one of the, many things, quite frankly, that Aaron Glenn has said that has not really come to fruition. And that obviously falls on coaching. So I definitely don't like the third down usage. Excuse me. I just pulled it up using Sumer Brain. Isaiah Davis has 51 total third down plays. Braylon Allen, before the injury, he had 11. Brees Hall had 29 third down plays. That is 31.8% of his team's third downs. He's on the field. Isaiah Davis is on the field for 56% of the team's third downs. That is laughable. I don't care how good Isaiah Davis is in pass pro. Find a way to get Brees Hall and Isaiah Davis on the field at the same time. Split Brees Hall out wide. You try to do it a couple times early. It's like in the scripted part of the game. And then as soon as the game flow gets like to where they're not the scripted plays, everything just goes by the wayside and they're just stagnant. Under center runs, shotgun passes, really condensed formations, which allow people to, crowd the box and crowd the line of scrimmage and make it muddy for the offensive line and the quarterback. So it's really just a disaster class of coaching and quarterback play the last 2 weeks offensively. And the most unfortunate part about this is you can't even really talk about the defense and how well they've performed the last 2 weeks because it just gets overshadowed by this huge cloud of the worst quarterback room in the NFL. I'll say it. It's the worst. There's not one team I wouldn't take right now. And that is including Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. I would just take it because last week, one of those guys could have thrown an 8-yard pass to Garrett Wilson to get into field goal range. And this week, I feel like the game plan just would look different if it was Dylan Gabriel versus Justin Fields. Like you have a quarterback that can actually get to the back of his drop and throw the damn ball.
Man.
I've seen it happen in like the 3 or 4 games that Dylan Gabriel's played. It doesn't happen a lot and he's not good, but he can turn around and hand the ball off just as good as Fields can and then make those throws. So,
or you could have Tua, who's like a $50 million Dylan Gabriel.
$99 million dead cap for
that's
Tua
worse
next year.
Tua for his money is worse than Fields for his, for sure.
Oh, dude, 30 million is such a drop in the bucket. It's like his cap number this year is like 3%, Justin Fields, and it bumps up to like 7.5% next year. But then you still add the rookie in and you're under 10% on your quarterbacks as a whole. Tua Tagovailoa is probably like 30 something percent of his cap. So it's that's definitely egregious. And then you couple the worst quarterback room with a Garrett Wilson-less wide receiver room that is 32nd out of 32nd in the NFL. I feel like there is no worse wide receiver room in this league, despite all the injuries that anybody else might have. The Jets without Garrett Wilson are the worst. So it's an absolute disaster class in terms of talent on offense. Coaching, I actually liked what Tanner Angstrand did. Some of the early screens, Justin Fields has to throw the tunnel screen. When you're hot and you have a blitzer right in your face, you have to throw it. It's not a matter of
teams kill us with that all the time.
Exactly. They see us blitzing with like a Cisco or a Sherwood off the edge or Quincy Williams before he got hurt. And they knew immediately, okay, this is the void in the coverage. I'm going to throw my in-breaking route right behind it or my short little screen pass right behind it. And that's called throwing hot in this league. And if you don't have what's called a hot answer, which is a coach's, responsibility to put that in the playbook, is if they blitz, you have to have a hot answer on plays. And they had it perfectly. It might not have been the biggest gain, but it was probably going to be a first down. I think they had like one single high safety and then a corner who was going to be blocked by the other eligible receiver out to that side. So it would have worked. And then Fields just holds the ball. And at that point, honestly, I don't know about you, but I felt like we were cooked as an offense. And it was like, okay, you have to make the switch to Tyrod Taylor. And the longer you wait this out, it's just going to get uglier. And luckily, it was only a 4-point game at halftime. And then by the time they got the ball back for the first time in the third, it was 13-3. How many games, Buffalo, have we seen this year where they're down 10 points running the ball in the third quarter? Pretty much every single one, right? They're down 23-6 against Tampa Bay, and they're running the ball. They're trying to establish the run. Why are we running it 3 total times in the second half, 2 actual designed runs? So I liked the beginning of Angstrand, and then I absolutely hated the end of Angstrand, and couple that with the decision making and the poor quarterback play, and where do we go from here, man? I keep asking that question, but like where are the answers?
Yeah, I definitely thought there was. Now, obviously, the running game imbalance was kind of crazy. I think you can question some. Still not throwing a Hail Mary at the end of the half when I believe the last presser, AG said if you can go back and do it, he would throw the Hail Mary, and you get like an exact mulligan the next game, and you still don't do it. That's kind of weird. I actually didn't hate the punt at the end. I know it's kind of unpopular, but I mean, you
They
gave
were
your
backed up and had
defense.
3 timeouts. I'll give them that, but still, it's like
But and it's Andy Dalton, and whatever Andy Dalton cooks up something to Xavier Leggett, who's like had his breakout game in the NFL. So that's all good and well. But Tanner Engstrand came out with a clear plan of like quick game to beat the overload blitzing finally, because against Denver they just like dropped him back, and all of their hots were like those curl routes that Fields just didn't have the confidence to pull the cord on. So he's like, we're just going to throw some screens, some flats, some rollouts, some outs. And you could at least tell from a design perspective that they tried something to counter what other teams were going to do to them. But I also go back to like, dude, Alan Lazard's wide open for a walk-in touchdown. And Tyrod Taylor
on a beautiful play design.
underthrows
Beautiful play
him
design.
by a mile. By a mile. That is the exact play, Dylan. If Fields was in there and he does that, we would be saying, holy crap, if Tyrod was in, he easily hits that pass and we have a tie game or whatever it was. And then the one to Reynolds, like the safety was kind of coming over. I'm not going to say it's wide open, but that's like an NFL quarterback should at least get it to Reynolds' hands. You know, at least get it to Reynolds' hands. He has to throw it a little bit earlier in there because there's he cooked the corner. We got Joshua Reynolds cooking their cornerback one, and you at least have to go 1 for 2 there and get a touchdown. And the tunnel screen, honestly, you should go 2 for 3 on an easy tunnel screen, a wide open flea flicker, and a hole shot that most NFL quarterbacks should hit. You got to go 2 for 3 there. And if you do, that's 10 points. You know, you leave 10 points on the board with some easy. And then even Alan Lazard with his pre-snap penalty, you have 1st and goal at the 8. And now that's backed up, and now it's whatever 1st and 15 at the 20. And you know this team, it says everything you need to know about this offense. When they get a false start on 1st and 10, it feels insurmountable. They go to 1st and 15, and you're like, there's no way, there's nothing we can do. Like that's when a false start on 1st down is a back-breaking penalty, it's not about the penalty. Because like the Lions are playing right now. The Lions can get a false start on 1st and 15. It's not even a factor. Like they won't even waste the timeout. They'll just take the 5 yards. They'll still get the 1st down because they're a normal offense. But yeah, that also could have taken, could have been a 4-point swing there. So you're talking about like 15 points of just easy, simple, basic execution. It's not to say the Jets are well coached, but I don't know. This one felt it felt a little bit Mike LaFleur, Zach Wilson-y to me, where it's like the play caller isn't exactly Sean McVay, but you got to hit a couple of professional passes and you probably win.
Yeah, I can't tell you the number of times I've either tweeted or responded to a YouTube comment that says shades of MLF plus Wilson 2022, because that's what it felt like. Honestly, it's like we're watching the quarterback drag down the offensive play caller. And I'm not saying, like you said, that Angstrand is a McVay or a Shanahan or an Andy Reid or any of that. Like he just needs to prove himself. And unfortunately, the quarterback that's probably going to do that the best, just based on what he wants to run in his offense, is Brady Cook. But nobody wants to see Brady Cook, because as soon as we start doing Brady Cook probably would have hit that pass, it becomes a pick six. You know what I mean? So it's like it's so much worse. And you mentioned the penalties there. That false start, I believe, was on Tippmann. The false start on Tippmann or whoever it was, Simpson. They had 5 total penalties in this game, and the most egregious one was Alan Lazard's illegal motion. When they had the 3rd and 4 and they ran the quick out to Josh Reynolds in the red zone right after Fields went out and they got the 15 yards on the roughing the passer. The first play, Tyrod comes in. I think they run it 2 times and they get to a 3rd and 4. They run a motion out route to Josh Reynolds on the right side, and Lazard motions to the left pre-snap, and then him and Mason Taylor can't get aligned. So it's a 5-yard penalty. It backs them up from 3rd and 4 to 3rd and 9. The next play is a Tyrod scramble, and they settle for a field goal. So it's like, how many actual points did they leave on this field yesterday? It's actually like closer to like 17 or 20. It's actually pretty crazy, and that's more of the reason why I'm not going to drag Engstrand through the mud. I'm obviously he's attached to Aaron Glenn. If Aaron Glenn goes, Engstrand probably goes too, and I guess I can't be too attached to it one way or the other. But I feel like he has not been given a true chance, and you can blame him for being part of the quarterback decision. You can blame AG exclusively, however you want to dole up the blame for having poor quarterback play. I feel like he needs to have a game where somebody's ready to run his offense functionably and see what he's really made of, because then we'll see all those receivers coming open come to fruition. Obviously, Garrett needs to get back healthy, but I feel like there's so many like breadcrumbs of this offense that could be there. And for whatever reason, if it's a mentality thing after penalties or just a shot quarterback performance, like we knew right away Fields didn't have it. So whatever it is, I don't want to give Engstern a pass completely, but I want to see him with a competent quarterback. And I feel like we're probably not going to see that this year.
Yeah, and then it's it's chicken or the eggs, right? With the coaching or the quarterback play. I mean, Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor are still both with Tyrod. It's obviously not, well, it's not a big sample size for either of them, but they are both playing like some of the worst football of their career. Like Justin Fields has never been good, but this is the worst he's been, and I do think it goes back to like some of the messaging when the new coaching staff took over. And people say, well, they can't say they're going to go 0-17. You can tactfully manage expectations. You can. We don't have to pretend that everything is just black and white. I mean, you come in, and let's not forget. Remember, obviously, they said Will McDonald is going to be a 3-down edge because we're going to coach him up, and Will McDonald is not even going to come close to the 10 sacks and the 67 pressures he had last year. And then even in a spot like that, where it's like, it's so easy just to give credit to the player. You could have just said, hey, Will's had a great offseason. Got a lot of talent, did some good things last year. We're excited to get him on the field and see what he can do for us this year. Instead, to say it's coaching 5 times in a row. And then with Justin Fields to say he hasn't been allowed to play real quick. He basically said the Bears and Steelers didn't know what they were doing with Justin Fields. That's what he's saying. And now you're making him worse. And you're not even doing the things that the Steelers did, who were the first team that were able to make him functional. You're not even using those principles.
Yeah, the amount of peacocking that Aaron Glenn did.
You know what I mean? Like, dude, and then he's benched within, and then you say it's crazy to even consider benching him.
Yeah,
just to bench him. I mean, bro, like AG, you're
2 quarters later to bench
him. Come on,
him,
dude.
Yeah, the amount of peacocking Aaron Glenn did throughout the entire offseason, it got the players, or not maybe the players, but also the fans, like myself included. I'll completely admit I was bought into all of the peacocking that Aaron Glenn was doing, puffing out his chest, saying it's coaching. We're going to do this. We're going to get all these guys playing. I set the bar at like 60% of the guys that they've claimed that they're going to fix up. I want to see 60% of those guys do better. I don't know what the percentage is, but it ain't 60%, dude. It's like, it's way lower than like 40%. Is Brandon Stevens the only one that they coached up and actually got like better ball out of? Like, I'm actually concerned that Brandon Stevens might be the only one that has showed some semblance of like progression. And that's because he started off so horribly weeks 1 and 2. But for the last like 3, maybe 4 weeks, I feel like he's played some solid ball. But everybody else, Justin Fields, the whole Stone Smart thing, like, Will McDonald, like him and Quinnen have a combined 2 sacks, and it was week 1, all Will McDonald. Or maybe Quinnen has 1 sack by now. I don't remember what the exact number is, but they have like 3 total sacks. It's absolutely
they just don't get near the quarterback.
No, they don't. And the interior pressure is better than the edge pressure for sure. even with Jermaine back. But it feels like they're doing so many like naked keepers and boots against us that you really just have your end man a line of scrimmage containing and then pursuing just to get in the throwing lane. And while you were talking about Fields specifically, I found this tweet by Football Perspective. Fewest passing yards through 7 games for the last 10 years. 2021, 2022, and 2025 are all Justin Fields led teams. And the only other exception is 2018 Bills with Josh Allen. So Justin Fields has 3 of the 4 worst performances through 7 games in terms of passing yards.
So you're
in
saying
his
he's
career.
Josh Allen?
So yeah, you could look at this and say he might become Josh Allen in a couple years. But it just won't be for the Jets because we don't have the time of day for that. Flipping over to the defense, but before I do, I did want to make a bit of announcement. Probably should have mentioned this 25 minutes ago when we started the show, but that's okay. I am now the new host of the Believe in Jets podcast. I will be uploading an audio-only version of most of my YouTube videos to their podcast network, both Apple and Spotify, as well as other platforms. So if you want the audio-only version of a lot of my videos, game recaps and game previews specifically, I'll be having a ton of opponent-related guests on in the coming weeks. I believe I have a Bengals guest coming on later in the week with me. So if you do want the audio version of most of my videos here that you see on YouTube, you can support me over at Believe in Jets. You don't necessarily have to believe in the Jets. I don't know if I do or not either right now, but certainly support me on this journey, becoming an official podcaster. Believe in Jets, a New York Jets podcast with yours truly, DT. So certainly appreciate all the people that are going to download those episodes over there. I know a lot of audiences like the audio only. It's a little bit easier to consume rather than having YouTube open all the time. So trying to get more exposure in this whole podcasting system. And like I said, you don't have to believe in the Jets, but hopefully you believe in me and I can bring you some good content. With that, we'll flip over. Yeah, hell yeah. With that, we'll flip over to the defense. The bright spot of the day of the last 2 weeks, honestly, 13 points in the last 2 games each. Brownlee again, JJ again, Sherwood a little bit more, Mauigoa a little bit more. Things are coming together. There are bright spots on defense. I hate having to overlook them, like talking for 25 minutes about how crappy the offense is, but Brandon Stevens again, like there are handful of players. Quinnen shows up every week. Harrison Phillips, Juwan Briggs. There's probably about 7 or 8 guys on this defense that either rotate in or are full-time starters that I feel like I can hang my hat on. That I was, very critical of them the first couple of weeks. And obviously when you're the 31st ranked in scoring defense, then you deserve it. You got to wear that. But the last 2 weeks they've buckled down since that players only defensive players meeting. So what are your thoughts on the defense? Is this something we can actually hang our hats on, whether it's, player related, coaching related?
Yeah, I mean, I know they didn't exactly play good offenses, but they've clearly been better. Like they've clearly something has clicked, and I think a few things. Number one, Steve Wilkes became less addicted to cover 1, like he was a psychopath the first few weeks. They played a lot more cover 3, a lot more cover 4, a lot more cover 2. We've gotten a couple of our quarter half with the elusive quarter half they didn't want to play. We've gotten a few reps of that, and then I think just as importantly, like they've made how bad Michael Carter was and getting serviceable play out of Brownlee in your slot is huge. How bad Tony Adams was and getting decent play out of Malachi Moore. And then Jermaine coming back, bumping Clemens from starter to backup. And then, McGregor from primary backup to last guy in the rotation. And then Barron from last guy in the rotation to inactive. Like that trickle effect on you when your edge room is huge. So those 3 spots are massive. And Kiko looks like an NFL player now. I wish that teams had to tell you before the snap whether they were throwing or passing, because you'd want him out there when they were just running or passing, I should say. But actually, he can blitz pretty well too, and that was his thing coming out of Miami, like playing downhill. You see ball, go get ball. He can do that, and he's a really good tackler. And he's one of the few guys that can shed off blocks and has like stopping power in the hole. And I think even more so than Quincy and Sherwood, to be honest. Like he's a true thumper. He brings an element of power that our linebacker room doesn't have with the other 2 guys. But in coverage, it's incredible how all those traits that make him awesome at that just completely is like Flintstone feet. But at the same time, if you're a 5th round pick, if you show a couple of traits that you can have, maybe he's a sub package linebacker. Maybe he can never be in your 4-2 base. But if he could be your 3rd linebacker where he's on the field 16, 18% of the snaps and he plays half your special teams reps, you're not writing home about that as a 5th round pick. But that's like what we talk about getting on base, like Isaiah Davis. Isaiah Davis is a fine 5th round pick, and I think Kiko Malagoa could be in that mold. I think he was clumped to Barron a little too much because Barron is kind of, not. I don't think he's gonna make it. I think we clumped those two together too much because Kiko's been okay. And how many teams? What is he? Was he like the 4th or 5th linebacker? I mean, they got so many injuries. How many teams have a great, 4th, 5th string linebacker? So. And I think we've been a little, I don't know. I do think, let's not, I don't know, like the Jets are bad. So we want to say that everything is bad. Like people say Sauce Gardner is bad. Like just because the Jets are 0-7, it doesn't mean that like Sidney Sweeney is ugly. Like you can't just say like everything. We can just say some true things. Like Sauce has been balling the last. Stevens too. Stevens is playing well. Sauce hasn't allowed. He's been targeted at some crazy stat. Like the last 3 weeks, I think he's been targeted like twice and has 2 pass breakups and allowed 1 catch in like the last 3 weeks and hasn't missed a tackle. Unfortunately, he does his weapons drone dive tackling and he has to go in the 10th every 5 seconds. He has a concussion again. So Jamar Chase is going to be given the business to Stevens and AZ Thomas next week. But Sauce is probably going to be like a 2nd team all pro again, man. Like he's good. Why can't he get an interception like JC Horn? Well, because Tyrod Taylor will never be facing him and throwing him a one-on-one ball against Josh Reynolds. It will never happen. Like it'll just never happen. That rep will never exist. I don't know what to tell you about it. A team will never do that to the Jets against Sauce. But we tried it against JC Horn, and that's cool. Sherwood's been looking okay, right? So there's some steps like you can kind of see because that was concerning in the beginning of the year where like, holy crap, we need a quarterback, a wide receiver 2, and an entire like 2/3 of a defense. But so it's definitely been encouraging to see that the defense, isn't that far away from being decent.
Yeah, like you said, we definitely upgraded at a lot of the moves, defensive interior, slot corner, safety, Malachi Moore, Tony Adams. To your point about Sauce, can Dylan Gabriel target Malachi Corley one-on-one versus Sauce in coverage and give us a chance, please?
I get DPI.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. So, and like you said, Sauce and Stevens are playing well. All 3 corners are playing well. Cisco, if he just learns how to use his arms to tackle, I feel like he'd be a lot better than he actually is, but he's just leading with his shoulder right now. And it's like, we see you're wearing a brace on your right shoulder or like I guess like a pseudo sling on his right shoulder. And he's leading with it, just like bashing people and he's missing tackles. So it's like, he's kind of the weak point right now of the secondary, but 4/5 of your secondary are playing well. And Cisco's the only, 1-year commitment, right? So if he's the one that has to be replaced in the secondary, that feels generally okay. And then, like you said about Malinoa being your 3rd linebacker, maybe that's more, reason to keep Quincy Williams for the rest of the season when he comes back from IR instead of trying to trade him and, keeping your back 7 intact, at least just for this year. And then I mentioned the interior guys and then pushing Barron to the inactive list, obviously, is probably the biggest ripple effect positive for this entire defense because you just can't have him out there anymore. It's bad enough that Michael Clemens is running with his muck boots in concrete, running after all these quarterbacks. But Barron not being on the field is definitely huge. So JJ being back is great. My whole thing is, and this kind of goes back into the quarterback or coaching thing, if we don't trust the coaches to make a decision on a rookie quarterback in next offseason, right? If we just don't have that much trust in these guys right now, why should we trust them to trade off assets to then try to take these players? Am I seeing that a little bit wrong? Do you have a different opinion on that? Or should we just kind of hold our talent and see what the end result is and then assess at the end?
I think if there's players that you don't, either as a coaching staff and GM, you don't feel like are going to be back next year, or you just have a realistic talk with their agent. Like, hey man, do you see a future with this team? right? And if the answer is unequivocally no, like it probably is at the Brees Hall, then I think you trade the guys. And now it's tough. It is tough because we're saying for this coaching staff, you got to show us some stuff, right? But then we're also advocating for them to strip them of a little talent that they have, which will make it more difficult for them. But I don't know what else to do when if you're 0-8 heading into the bye, you have to be sellers to some extent. It's just kind of how it is. It doesn't mean you trade Jermaine Johnson or Quinn Williams, but I think guys who are on expiring deals who you don't think are going to be back, you like to do it. Now, personally, I would like to keep Brees Hall. I would like to use him. I would like Brees Hall to touch the ball 20 times a game in this offense, and that be what we do. And you give him the contract that Kyron Williams got last year, which is basically like 2 for 20, which is like what Brandon Stevens got. It's not that crazy. It's less than Jamie and Sherwood got. That's what I would want to do. But it seems like they don't want to do that. So if you're not going to do that, and if he doesn't want to do that, then get your 4th round pick and be done with it. And he can go have, 125 yards for the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I feel like we've already submitted to that wherever Brees Hall, if he does get traded in the next 2 weeks, it's probably going to be to a team that's going to use him in early to mid, maybe late January, and he's going to have that one, really baller performance in prime time, and all the announcers are going to talk about how the Jets just couldn't use him properly, or he's going to moss a cornerback in the AFC Championship game, and we're going to be like, see, we told you we could have ran the full route tree back in camp, but we just didn't do it with him. So yeah, I guess it's a fair mindset to have about it. For me, I like I said, I think I'm more just like, let's hold all our cards, see what happens. I'm not saying it's going to yield better results, but I don't want to hear, oh, we traded Quincy and we traded this person and we traded that person. We depleted our talent. JJ's gone. He was the glue of our defensive line. We need a second year. We need to show you guys that we can bring in our guys and actually make this work. So I'm not saying I'm out on AG's second year, but right now it's like a 2% chance for me that like I feel confident in this. So like just give him all the talent now, let him succeed or fail over the next 10 games and then assess from there. The other hard part about this is they play the Bengals and then they have a bye. And then the Tuesday after the bye is the trade deadline. So this is the last chance you're going to see the guys. If they're not going to be here after the bye week, this is the last chance we're going to see them. So it's like kind of unfortunate there. Do they just throw shit to the wind and give Brees Hall 20 touches if he's a secret game day inactive like Michael Carter after a full week of practice? Like
I think if anything, you might sit him to not prevent injury.
That's the opposite spectrum, right? Is it do they just run him into the ground as much as they can, or do they sit him and try to hold value? And they probably already have a backdoor agreement with another team here and there. But
they've been on the phone, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hope they get a 4. I don't know if that's actually what they're going to get. There is not a team that I project to see in the playoffs in the AFC or NFC that hold 2 4th round picks. I think 2 4th round picks, considering where they're going to be in the 4th round, you're probably getting their natural pick in the 4th, which is pick 140. Maybe if there's 40 picks in the 4th round, you're probably starting at pick 105 after the comp picks. So you're talking about pick 145 to 150, and then you're maybe getting a comp 4th if you're getting that second 4th. So I would like to see, 2 4ths or the equivalent of, that type of value for Brees Hall. I don't think we're going to get it. And the rumors and reports are a 5th right now for Brees Hall. I'm kind of holding on to Brees if it's just a 5th. I understand the hit rate in the NFL is probably like 12% in the 5th round. Like if there's 40 picks in the 5th round, how many of them can you think are going to be quality players? Maybe 4, 5 at the most. So I don't know. Do you take the comp pick next year for Brees, assuming he gets something close to the Kyron Williams deal? I think he's a double digit, a $10+ million running back on the market. So if they're going to be frugal next offseason, I know they have a lot of money, but if they're going to be frugal in free agency again and do the comp pick value formula, is the comp pick 4th worth more than the 5th now for Brees? I feel like that's, obviously a Muji calculator type decision to really see what weighs more for the benefit of this team. But you got to do that with just about everybody on the team. And there's maybe 4 players that are untouchable at this point. And it's the 2 guys, the 3 guys you gave extensions to that were here last year, Sauce, Garrett, and Sherwood. And then the only other untouchable, I don't know, is it maybe Justin Fields just because nobody wants him?
Yeah, he's not.
Who is that 4th guy?
His contract is not is not tradable. I don't think that maybe Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji would have drafted a 238-pound edge player, Will McDonald, but they are not in the business of parting with the little pass rush that they have. That's
a fair one. That's a good one.
Cost control. And I think, like, what would you get back for Will? Like a second round pick at most? I don't know. Like I think,
and I forgot the tackles. So we're up to like 6. We're up to
you're not
6
trading Fashanu or Membu. I mean, I'm not going to say Tippmann's untouchable, but it just doesn't feel likely that he's moved because why would you trade a third year starting offensive lineman who's solid and still 23 years old? So yeah, I mean, everybody has a price. Like even does Quinnen have a price? Yeah, of course. If a team is going to offer like a first round pick and then something else, and you come to him and you're like, hey, you don't have much guaranteed money left, like, but that's probably the conversation for the offseason. A player of that magnitude is not typically moved at the deadline. I still prefer to keep Quinnen because it just, to me, like, if you start talking about Quinnen and JJ, and some people will say, well, tear it all down, get all these picks, we got to start from square one. And it's like, teams do that and then just are good. Like, dude, teams don't, like, we have this mindset that we already did kind of tear it down. We're going, we're going to go win one game and then we have to tear it down more. And then we're going to win one game again. And then a GM and coaching staff that wins a combined like 2 or 3 games over 2 years, they're going to be the ones that eventually turn it around. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. I get it. They cut a lot of veterans to save money. I understood that approach of it this offseason. They went all in. It didn't work. So you're going to have to eat some medicine. But I just still think if your coaching staff is there should be a floor. And you should be able to hit that floor by your second year. Like, if they're not able to be competitive, and by competitive, I don't mean if these 8 things happened, we would have beat the Buccaneers. That's not competitive. Competitive means you won 8 games. You were in the playoff hunt the last 2 weeks of the season, right? Because all kinds of things happen. Like the Bengals are toasted. The Ravens are toasted. Like, there is a spot to be had in this conference this year if we wanted to show up and be even close to a serious team. So show up next year. At least show up next year and do what the Colts did the previous few years, where they didn't even have like a quarterback. They weren't even really good. Like, who's even their coach? What's going on? Oh, they win 8 games. How? I don't know. They just do. Are they really good? No.
I saw somebody giving credit to Jim Bob Cooter being on the staff with Daniel Jones in one of your live streams. I think it was last night's live stream. I'm like, we employed one Jim Bob Cooter at one time. He is not the reason that Daniel Jones is great. He's not the reason Daniel Jones is balling. It's Shane Steichen, but I totally
won 8 games with Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. Who is what the lesser like the Walmart version of Fields, supposedly. Obviously, Fields on tape this year is just god awful, but
Anthony Richardson is like, he will huck it though, man.
Oh yeah,
he has the longest time to throw, but then he'll just fire a jump ball like 50 yards down the field, and he'll complete 49% of his passes. So it's a whole different experience. But yeah, man, they should be, if they are to be back, which I don't know. The thing that's tough about that conversation is I see people, and I get it, man. People are like, you're crazy if you even kind of like mention like, hey, I don't know. Because let's be honest, guys, like, if you're a Jet fan, I'm not talking about what your take is or who they're going to hire or how hard this job is or how it's not Aaron Glenn's fault for 15 years. I get all that stuff, man. But no part of you has watched this and just thought like Tony Romo, geez, I don't know, Jim. Like, you don't, no part of your brain says, geez, I don't know, Jim. Then you're stronger man than me if you don't have at least a little bit of that thought. And the issue is, if they could just, if we were just mucking about and they were just going to roll it into another year and whatever, let's see what you got. Okay, but dude, this quarterback pick upcoming, they're going to have a pick 1 or 2 maybe. If they F it up collectively as an organization, if Woody Johnson's organization F's it up, it's not just 1 year. It's a 3 more year blow up. And then look at what the Jets did chasing their tail after Zach Wilson. Now you throw in all the picks for Rodgers, the picks for the Reddick, the picks for Devontae, all that happened because you busted for Zach Wilson, and you only take Zach Wilson because you couldn't coach up Sam Darnold, and now Sam Darnold and Aaron Rodgers are gonna be like fucking playing each other in the Super Bowl. It's like it's the craziest thing I've ever seen, man. So
Oh my
we
gosh.
have to stop the madness, man. We have to stop the cycle right now. And my allegiance to whoever that young sweet soul is that we're gonna put under center, it is above Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji. It just is. If it comes to that, I think there is a world in which we look at the end of this year and you're like, would you prefer a roll of the dice or 17 games of what we've seen now? I think that will be a fair question to ask.
Yeah, I'll certainly be if they carry over and they draft their rookie, which we obviously assume is going to happen, and it starts to look ugly early, like it's not going to be good. Like they're going to get the treatment that we've, the tweets going around historically of all the first overall quarterbacks who have had their play caller fired in the middle or the end of year one. It's like 5 of the last 6 or 6 of the last 8 first overall quarterbacks. So I don't want that to be the case.
Let's get the
Again, I'm
second
not.
pick. Number 1 is too much pressure.
Let's beat the Dolphins,
Let's get the
right?
second
Let's beat
pick.
the
Yeah.
Dolphins and
Let
Quinn
them mess it
Ewers.
up.
Let them mess it up. We get the second pick. I feel like that's honestly safe.
Mhm.
And I think the fact that there is no consensus QB1 right now, and obviously there's
Yeah.
still a lot of the puzzle left to be, put together with all these quarterbacks and the entire pre-draft process also. I think it kind of bodes well for the Jets right now that we don't think they're going to be picking number 1, but there's also no consensus number 1. So even if they're picking 2 or, at worst 3, they win 2 games, who knows? And they're picking third. Maybe they get that third quarterback off the board at 3 and it ends up being the right decision.
Drake May.
Drake May was the third quarterback
Drake May looks like QB1 from that class right now. I don't know.
You're 100% right. And he wasn't the third quarterback taken in the draft class in 2018, but Darnold was the third pick. They took Saquon between Baker and Darnold. Obviously, the third quarterback was Josh Allen. So I think the secret is to take the third quarterback.
Right.
And not saying, that's what I actually believe, but I don't want to see that rookie quarterback get thrust into this environment that is so toxic that I feel like you said, it's almost better just like roll the dice, get rid of AG Muji, bring in an offensive coordinator or offensive minded guy, and hopefully you bridge the gap and your rookie quarterback doesn't flame out in 3 years.
If the last 10 games look like the first 7, I think there is a world in which that will be my conclusion. To be clear, that is not my conclusion at this very moment. But yeah, man, I even think, like, to me, if they are going to, let's say that Muji and Glenn are back, which if you ask me right now, that would be my who's the GM and who's the head coach next year. My guess would be Muji and Glenn.
Nick Faria gave it a 2% chance on Boy Green's podcast this morning that they are fired after 0-17.
I mean, that's just such a random, arbitrary. Okay,
sure, but it's just he's
okay.
in the building. He was fed all those
Fair
leaks
enough.
from ownership, and it feels like they're all very like aligned with the fact that like almost no matter what happens, AG's back, and I can't do it. I can't bend my brain that much.
Here's the thing about that: they clearly, the beat clearly got a message in the middle of this week that said to the fan base, we're not one and dunning anyone, so you guys need to calm your tits, right? It's pretty much what they told us. But the thing about Woodrow is, in 2 months, he could feel a totally different. Like, that means his fleeting feelings about it right now mean nothing. So we'll see what happens. But let's say AG and Muji are back, which I think is most likely. I still would really prefer them to at least sit this quarterback that they are drafting, because I would like, it's just a preference as a fan. I know that it's not in this market with this owner, coach, and GM who are coming off a tough year. They're going to want to put the kid out there so they can at least get the vibes. Like Jackson Dart, I don't know if he's going to be great. He's brought some excitement to their fan base. So that's probably why he'll be on the field by October, no matter what they say or whatever. It's kind of how it goes. But I would like to at least see, like, you sign some Kirk Cousins, Jacoby Brissett variant, and whichever one you like. And can you at least show next year that you've made improvements, you've taken a step towards confidence, you're at least, you could score 22 points a game, be in your 500 team, and you feel confident putting that kid in there. Whereas if you put the kid in there right away and all we have to base it off of was that you were a 1 or 2 win team, and and now you're struggling, and it's like, oh no, the quarterback just sucks. I would just, because when's the last time that the Jets drafted a quarterback and put him into a team that we knew was decent? It was probably Mark Sanchez, because that team was decent. And guess what? The Jets didn't ruin Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez got worse when he left the Jets. He had a great O-line, a great run game, a great defense. He had good receivers. And then it all kind of fizzled out, but the Jets got the most out of him. He was just over drafted. But since then, like Sam and Zach and Gino did not get that. And I would like to at least try to come as close to that as we can.
Yeah, I think that's the most important part of the whole thing is the environment. And the draft dudes, Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino, they always do a rookie quarterback environment exercise every like post draft, and they look at all 5 or however many first round quarterbacks there were, and or high second round quarterbacks even, and they grade the coaching, the pass catchers, the O-line, the defense, and they look at the best environments. And the year that Zach came out, there was 5 first round quarterbacks. Obviously, Trey Lance was given the best environment grade because he went to the 49ers. And Zach, I believe, was tied for the worst or just slightly ahead of Trevor Lawrence. And what he was going into as the number 1 overall pick in Jacksonville was, very bad also. But yeah, I think that's the most important part. So if this is all going to happen, if all these guys are going to get to make these decisions, we need to see maintenance on the offensive line, whether that's continuity or replacing guys like Simpson. And, I don't think they're going to bring back AVT. I know that's kind of been floated out there, but you got to maintain some kind of continuity on your offensive line. You got to find at least 1, probably 2 pass catching weapons. And then you probably need a running back. So you need like 3 or 4 like actual pieces that are going to be like pseudo pillars for this quarterback, because I don't want to hear the phone call of, you don't have to lift this team up, we're going to lift you up. I just want to see it. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I just want to actually see it. And I'm with you with the Jacoby Brissett thing, which is actually hilarious because somebody asked me if we should trade for Kyler Murray today, which I thought was just absolutely hilarious. I was like, no, we're not doing that. Jacoby Brissett looks fine, but we're not doing that. But yeah, go get you a veteran quarterback who's going to play 8 to 12 games next year, potentially the whole season if it's going like okay. If Justin Fields was what we thought he was going to be this year, he was the bridge guy for 8 to 10 games next year.
Yeah. What if we sign Aaron Rodgers?
What if we trade for Joe Burrow?
What if we sign? Yeah.
Joe Flacco's got these boys humming. They don't need Joe Burrow. He's injury prone. He's never going to win them anything of substantial. We got to get Joe Burrow.
They're kind of ruining
Kyler
Burrow.
Murray being, invoked in my YouTube mentions are just absolutely hilarious. But I appreciate everybody, trying. They're trying.
Hey, man, they're trying to be solution-oriented, man. Like, Kyler Murray is better than any quarterback that we have. I will say that.
I'm not trading for him as soon as Black Ops or Call of Duty just dropped or whatever it was, Battlefield, whatever that game was that just dropped.
He gets shorter every year. He's shrinking. Like, it's insane. He's like 5'4".
Yeah, it's actually egregious but he's just he's a fun player. Like, don't get me wrong.
Dude, he tuned us up last year. Remember that game? He made him look like Steve Young.
Yeah, we lost in 90 seconds to James Conner and Kyler Murray. But yeah, I want to see the veteran option for 8 to 10 games. Hopefully, maybe even a little more. Don't do the trial by fire with this rookie quarterback. And as much as it sounds so cliche, just do right by the kid, right? Just don't put him in a situation where he has to be the savior. That's really what it comes down to. And are these guys the right ones for the job? I'm not quite sure. I feel like you and I discussing it, we're trying to talk ourselves into it. But again, like, we go back to the beginning question, those 10 games, is that for AG to prove something, or is that for us to just sit in sorrow and, do a whole nother coaching search at the end of this season?
Yeah. I know we talked about it 2 weeks ago, but I'm not really sure what. I don't know, because it's really not fair, because I kind of want them to get a high pick at this point, but that's also not fair to be griping about them if they lose. So
what is
I don't know. It
point?
just feels
what
like
is
such
the
a lost
point
year.
where you root for a tank. Yeah, I think it's Cleveland. If you lose to Cincinnati and you lose to Cleveland, I will actively root for wins.
Well, yeah, I'll attack on 4 days because they come right back around and have Thursday night after Cleveland.
Oh, they're gonna get drubbed by New England.
So if
Mike
you,
Vrabel is going to run
yeah,
circles around
if
AG.
if they catch a drubbing by New England and you're what 0-10, then yes, I will
Okay.
embrace the
Okay.
tank.
So you're one game further than I am. The only reason I'm picking the Browns game is because I actually see that as like a winnable game. I don't know if we can stop Myles Garrett in the defense, but we should, in theory, with our defense, be able to stop Dylan freaking Gabriel. Doesn't even spell Dylan right. Come on, man. Like
I think the Browns. I don't think we're gonna beat the Browns. I think
I don't expect us to beat anybody at this point, but if I'm looking at a team with our defense, that's probably the only one.
they're kind of like the Panthers, but with a better defense, though. Almost, I guess Bryce Young is a little better
I think
than
Bryce Young is better than
Dylan
Dylan
Gabriel.
Gabriel.
Dylan
Although,
Gabriel
dude,
is
we
pretty
made
terrible.
Bryce
But
Young look pretty bad. And all those bootleg keepers that he did and then ended up dirting yesterday, like he only threw like 5
and
yards per attempt.
Bo Nix put up like a 30 piece in the fourth quarter against the Giants. He didn't do anything against our defense. So
Yeah.
stock up to the defense. It's just can't pick the Jets to win a game to win the game. I think the teams. I think the actually, you know what? If I'm going to look at our schedule, there's one game I actually will pick us to win. You can't go and forever against Tua for his entire Dolphins career. If he's still starting, you cannot lose every game because we've never beaten him. You can't lose it. And they are terrible. They got blown out by the Browns. They are so bad. I know we already lost to them. It was on the road. That would be that. And then the Saints. So I think that would be the two. Other than that,
Saints
I
just
guess
lost a running back and an offensive lineman today, not using injuries ever to say
Spencer
that
Rattler is
benefit
kind of
the
fun though.
Jets.
He's the gamer. He's working with what he's got. But yeah, I predict us to go probably 2-15, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. And you see if you have the second or third overall pick, I actually think there's going to be somebody that ends with one win, whether it's the Titans who already fired their coach or the Dolphins if we end up besting them. But yeah, I'm looking at Miami and New Orleans as well. Spencer Rattler, though, I mean, I was a big fan of his. I had him as like QB 3 or 4 in that draft. I had him over Bo Nix. I'm obviously not, taking victory laps because that take was probably wrong, but it's like Spencer Rattler has
I like
shown
to
some
see Spencer
things.
Rattler with Sean Payton.
I was
I
gonna
don't know if
say
you're wrong
Spencer
there.
Rattler has showed us some things this year. I know the record is pretty crap, but it's not a quarterback stat. I never look at record as a quarterback stat. Spencer's got he's got some tools to him. So that's another game though. Kellen Moore and Spencer Rattler versus AG and Brady Cook, like advantage to the Saints. So it's one of those things where we're not going to be in the driver's seat at head coach or quarterback, but you got to find a way. And you said this, the Patriots, I said the Browns is kind of that cutoff point where we're going to be in tank mode ourselves. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point, but as soon as they lose to the Patriots, they're going to rattle off a couple because we are actively rooting for losses, right?
Yeah, well, because think about it. When we were, what was it, 20? Wasn't it 2020 when they started like 0-14 or whatever it was, 0-13?
Yeah.
We would have sworn that team was not winning a game.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up winning
until
two
Braden
out of
Mann.
3, right? So
Braden Mann and then the COVID Browns.
Yeah, and the Rams, I believe they were playing for something. That wasn't like a throwaway game against their backups, I believe.
Yes, that was a game where they were like in the hunt, and it was a crucial loss for them. I think they still made the playoffs, but I think they were a wild card because of it. But it's like
it's crazy.
Teams accidentally win. That's the problem. Teams accidentally win, and I feel like we have to question if they're purposefully losing.
Yeah,
But
I don't think that they are purposely losing. It's almost giving them too much credit.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I keep joking. Like I know everybody loves to do the whole like we're the Jets, so this is gonna happen. Like we're gonna take the wrong quarterback, right? If the Jets were purposely tanking, Kev, and the league got wind of this, and they decided to do an investigation into the Jets' situational play calling and decision making and roster moves earlier in the week before games, they would take our first overall pick. And they wouldn't let us take that pick because they'd say, you know what, you tanked, and we got you.
Well, if we were tanking, the first thing you would have to do, the first guy you would have to get rid of or never sign in the first place would be Nick Folk. That's the easiest way to ensure. Because we saw it last year.
Who stopped the touchdown on that kick return? We almost stopped the touchdown.
And every time he attempts a field goal, he's like 10 years older. He looks like Yertle the Turtle. inside his little shell in there. I'm like, oh my God, can he please, Nick? You don't have to do this for us anymore, man. Go home. We'll be fine. We'll be fine without you, dude. Just go right off into the sunset, man. Yeah, Nick Folk. Yeah, but dude, he's still like, it's crazy. We have it's funny how that, like, the Jets, they ebb and flow from being like really bad at certain things and then good and then bad at certain other things. Last year we had like one of the worst kicking games in the NFL, and a mid punting game, and then this year it's like we have the best kicker punter duo again, and just like we did in 2023 when Greg Z and Morris that were crushing it with
Yep.
Zach. And then last year we had an offense that was bad, but still like an NFL offense to some extent. And the kicker, it's
Couldn't do a damn
incredible,
thing.
man.
It's like that
It's
kid's
incredible.
toy. I feel like my nephew has it, and he's like 2 years old, and it's like you push a button on this side, and a button pops out on this side, and then you push the button back in, and another button pops out on the toy, and it's like no matter what, there's always something popping out with this Jets team in a
Always
bad
something
way.
popping out.
Always something popping out. Hopefully, nothing popping off because we can't add any of that nonsense to this team. That's probably the only thing that's like keeping us from being like an entire embarrassment is like we're not losing our composure, right? Once the players start losing their composure and things of that nature, like the whole Dre Greenlaw thing with the referee, did you see that? Him yelling at Brad
Yeah,
Allen after
yeah,
the game, like
that
we
was a
can't be
lot.
doing that. And I know they won the game and he's still emotional, but like that's to the point where it's like, all right, we really gotta fire this whole thing into the sun.
No, because the Jets have some pretty high character guys, I still think.
Yeah, I agree. Even Brees Hall, like the way he speaks, it's obviously not, coming from a place of positivity or optimism, but like he's just real about the situation. He's like, I've been here for 4 years. Those guys have officially been here longer than Rob Saleh. He was here a year earlier than them. They've, done the requisite games to add up to more or the same amount of games or whatever that Rob Saleh had. So like they've seen it. They've been through it. And like you mentioned Quinnen earlier, like he's been here for 7 or 8 years now. Like he's seen 3 different coaches. He's seen ass for 8 different years. It's like a different version of ass too. It's like it's never just gonna come all together for the Jets when Quinnen Williams is here. And that actually like kills me for him because when
Right.
you talk about high character players, Quinnen is at the top of my list. Him, Garrett, I guess kind of Saucy's a high
Jermaine.
character player. Jermaine's
Jermaine's
like
got a CJ Mosley-ness to him.
Will McDonald, even I feel like is a high character player. Like there's just Harrison Phillips is a high character player. Like these guys are actually like good dudes
Harrison
that you
Phillips
want
has
to.
to be like, what the F?
Did you remember his whole scar tissue comment from a couple weeks ago with the here we go mentality? He was like, yeah, when you've been here for so long, there's like some scar tissue that you got to break off. And I'm like, dude, you've been here for like 32 days.
Well,
Like you can't
Devontae
be
Adams
saying that.
said the similar thing last year when he came over
Oh,
and he said
the post game
he's
speech heard around the world.
yeah. He
The
said our
greatest thing,
vibes
the
were
greatest thing Aaron Rodgers had ever heard in his entire life came in
yeah,
that post game press conference. It's
in
amazing to think
shambles.
Devontae Adams was never coached by Rob Saleh.
Oh yeah, that's true.
He
Dude,
was fired 2 weeks prior.
you know how many games we've won since Saleh was fired?
3.
Yes. 3 and I think it's 3-16.
It's probably worse now if we're 0-7. It's probably closer to 3-20.
That's
He was
including
fired
this
in
year.
week 5.
Including this year. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we had 12
So,
games without him last year, and we went 3-9. Okay, yeah, 3-16. I'm bad at math. Yeah, you're absolutely right. 3-16. That is awful. I'm not saying Saleh's a good coach or head coach. He's a great defensive
it's
coordinator, but like
it's 3-18 since the Thursday night against the Patriots home opener last year where Rodgers was playing well and we're 2-1 and we're like, holy shit, we're gonna win the Super Bowl. 3-18 since then.
that was the best day of our lives.
We'll always have those
Whooping
10
up on the
days
Patriots.
in between the Patriots Thursday night last year and the Broncos rainy MetLife debacle. We'll always have those 10 days in between, man.
The most
Always.
hollow words were Aaron Rodgers saying, "We need to learn how to handle success." Like, come on, man. Oh, it's just we're gonna leave it at that. We're gonna leave it on that Aaron Rodgers quote. We gotta learn how to handle success as a Jets organization. We gotta learn how to find
We
success.
have to learn a lot of it. We have to learn a lot, clearly.
And over these next 10 games, Kev, we are gonna learn quite a lot about this team, about this coaching staff, about just exactly where we are heading into 2026. I appreciate you for hopping on, plug your channel and what you got going on over there.
Yep, the BuffaloJetFan, Twitter, YouTube, Talk Jets, and will be on my channel next week.
Easy and short and sweet. We like that. It's very, very easy to I guess enjoy your content because you just keep it so simple. You have, great analogies. I think that's the best part about you is your analogies with some of this stuff. Your ices the spices rant reigns supreme. If you could ever find me a copy of that in the archives, I would love to play that on repeat. And yeah, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hit the like button on your way out one more time. Believe in Jets podcast with yours truly, Dylan Tereman, as the host. I will be back posting some audio only versions of most of my shows. The recaps and the previews specifically are going to go onto that feed. Appreciate you, Kev, for hopping on. Everybody hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe if you're new. We're on the road to 2K. We're close to 1,100, which is just amazing considering how bad this season has been. I'm Dylan Tereman signing off, and we'll talk to you next week.
Go Jets.
Go Jets.